He was a celebrated general, deeply in love, but a whisper, a handkerchief, and a conniving mind brought his world crashing down. Today, we're dissecting the tragic tale of Othello.
Welcome back, everyone. Yes, today we're plunging headfirst into William Shakespeare's Othello, or the tragedy of Othello, the Moor of Venice, as it's formally known. I think many of you listening probably know this play, maybe for its infamous villain, Iago, or just its devastating unraveling.
Definitely. But what makes this particular tragedy so enduring? What hidden insights can we still maybe glean from its timeless themes? Things like jealousy, deception, the insidious nature of prejudice.
Right, and that's our mission today, isn't it? To go beyond just a plot summary and really try to understand its psychological genius.
Exactly. We'll unpack the core narrative, delve into these complex characters and what drives them, and, peel back the layers of its main themes, that corrosive acid of jealousy, the chilling power of manipulation.
The heartbreaking impact of racial prejudice, the fragility of trust, it's all in there.
And ultimately, we want to connect this profound story not just to its historical period, but to human nature itself, the challenges we still grapple with today.
Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to a truly informed understanding of a classic that honestly continues to hold a mirror up to our world.
Okay, so let's begin our journey in Venice. It's this bustling hub of power, wealth, political intrigue.
Right, and we're not eased into it, are we? We're immediately immersed in the world of Othello himself. And he's presented to us, crucially, not as some outsider initially or a marginalized figure, but as a celebrated, respected general.
A noble Moor, a man of exceptional standing in the Venetian military.
Yeah, and what's immediately striking is how Shakespeare elevates Othello's position right from the start. We hear about his distinguished career, his services to the Signory.
Which was Venice's supreme governing council, right? The very top.
Exactly, the pinnacle of its power structure. And he even mentions his royal siege lineage, suggesting, a prestigious ancestry, inherent nobility.
So it's not just about his military rank. It highlights his established prestige, which you have to imagine was pretty remarkable for a mere woo in that society.
Oh, absolutely. And this high status just makes his subsequent downfall all the more jarring, all the more tragic.
And then there's his love for Desdemona, a young Venetian noblewoman. It's immediate powerful.
He basically says, I wouldn't give up my freedom for anything in the world.
For the sea's worth, he puts it.
Unless it was for her. I mean, that's a huge declaration of devotion right there.
A grand, all-encompassing love.
And Desdemona, for her part, she reciprocates this love fully, which, as you pointed out, is just a monumental act of agency in Elizabethan society.
Definitely. She actively defies all the prevailing social norms, marrying Othello without her father's consent.
And that decision immediately places her in this precarious, vulnerable position within a deeply patriarchal world. But she does it out of genuine affection, genuine conviction.
It's a powerful statement about love transcending societal expectations, but it also, maybe, signals her potential isolation later on when her family rejects her.
A love so strong, an act so brave. It really makes you wonder how something so seemingly unshakable could unravel so quickly.
The answer, of course, lies in the shadows, cast by our chilling villain, Iago.
Iago. He's introduced as Othello's ensign, essentially a flag bearer, a trusted junior officer.
But crucially, not the lieutenant. That's a significant step up, a more strategic command position. And Iago harbors this deep, festering resentment because Othello chose Michael Cassio for that promotion over him.
And his description of Cassio is just dripping with contempt, isn't it? He calls him a great arithmetician, a countercaster.
Maybe like a numbers guy.
Yeah, someone with mere prattle without practice and soldiership. Iago sees Cassio as this bookworm, someone who knows theory, but nothing of real battle.
Meanwhile, Iago puffs himself up, boasting about his own proven military experience at Rhodes, at Cyprus, and on other grounds, Christian and heathen.
He clearly believes he was the obvious, more experienced choice. He's seen real combat, not just, studied it. And this professional slight becomes that initial spark for his malice.
So beyond that immediate professional slight, what else is driving Iago? Is it really just about wanting that promotion?
Well, that's the fascinating and, frankly, terrifying core of Iago's character. His motivations as the play unfolds, they prove to be complex, multifaceted. It's like this toxic cocktail.
Okay.
It certainly includes raw jealousy over the promotion, yes. A consuming ambition for power, sure. But also, and perhaps most disturbingly, there's this deep-seated racial prejudice against Othello and an almost recreational malice.
Recreational malice, like he enjoys it.
It feels that way sometimes. He doesn't just want power. He seems to relish the sheer act of destruction itself. What's truly chilling about Iago isn't just his complexity, but maybe his unsettling lack of a single grand rational motive. It feels less like a meticulously planned masterstroke for personal gain, and more like a series of cruel experiments on human weakness.
Wow. And his chilling declaration, right near the beginning, "I am not what I am," that immediately establishes his deceptive nature.
It's more than just a statement, isn't it? It's like a direct challenge to us, the audience, signaling that nothing he says or does can be taken at face value.
It sets up that central theme perfectly. Appearance versus reality. What you see is absolutely not what you get. He literally tells you he's a liar.
And yet everyone falls for it.
It's incredible. We see this deception in action almost immediately, too. Iago teams up with Roderigo.
Right, the disgruntled Roderigo. A former suitor to Desdemona, still desperately trying to win her affection and completely clueless about Iago's real intentions, just feeding him money.
And together, they alert Desdemona's father, Brabantio, to the elopement. And this is where that ugly undercurrent of prejudice just lying beneath the surface of Venetian society really erupts.
The language Iago uses is just visceral. It's not just rude, it's immediately and explicitly racialized, dehumanizing.
He calls Othello an old black ram, tipping Brabantio's white ewe. Crude, animalistic terms designed to shock and disgust.
Playing directly into Brabantio's worst fears and prejudices. And Brabantio's reaction is exactly what Iago expects, what he manipulates. His outrage is completely fueled by this racial prejudice.
He accuses Othello of using foul charms, of abusing her delicate youth with drugs or minerals to bewitch his daughter.
He genuinely cannot fathom that Desdemona would willingly choose Othello. He claims she wouldn't have run to the sooty bosom of such a thing as thou otherwise.
And this wasn't just Brabantio's personal feeling, was it? It reflected a wider societal context.
Absolutely. You had figures like Queen Elizabeth I expressing uneasiness with negars and blackamoors, even authorizing their deportation at one point. There was this lingering association of black populations with slavery in Spain and Portugal, which definitely contributed to this prejudice. So Othello, despite his high standing, despite his military prowess, is still seen through this lens of racial otherness by some in Venice, making him vulnerable.
Yet Desdemona stands firm. Before the Venetian Senate, she bravely defends her choice. She states her love and duty to Othello.
Here's my husband. So much I challenge that I may profess due to the more, my lord. It's such a clear, passionate, rational defense.
And it works. It vindicates Othello before the Senate. They then quickly dispatch him to Cyprus to deal with the Turkish threat, and they allow Desdemona to join him.
It's this moment of public triumph for Othello, a real vindication. But, it also unknowingly sets the stage for Iago's insidious plot to truly begin, far away from the watchful eyes of Venice.
Okay, so the action moves from the Venetian court drama to Cyprus. And this isn't just a change of location, is it? It feels like a dramatic pivot.
It really is. The external threat, the Turkish fleet heading for Cyprus, is conveniently destroyed by a storm.
Right, so that military conflict just disappears.
Gone, leaving the stage perfectly set for an even more terrifying internal tempest to brew. All the focus shifts inward onto the personal tragedy.
And that reunion between Othello and Desdemona in Cyprus, it's just beautiful, isn't it? A brief moment of pure calm before the storm really hits.
Oh, yeah. These profound expressions of happiness, of deep connection. Othello calls her his fair warrior. He says, if it were now to die, 'twere now to be most happy. He genuinely believes he's reached the absolute peak of joy.
Which is so poignant because, as the audience, you know Iago is lurking right there.
Exactly. He sees this moment of peace not as something to respect, but as a golden opportunity. He even explicitly states it in one of his chilling asides to us.
Oh, you are well tuned now.
But I'll set down the pegs that make this music as honest as I am. It's just icy. He fully intends to systematically dismantle their harmony, note by agonizing note.
And he doesn't waste any time. His immediate target after they arrive is Cassio.
Right. And despite Cassio himself acknowledging his very poor and unhappy brains for drinking, Iago cunningly persuades him to drink way too much during a celebration.
It shows Iago's keen understanding of human weaknesses, doesn't it? That's a key trait of a master manipulator, something he just exploits ruthlessly again and again.
It's like he custom tailors his attacks to each person's Achilles heel. Cassio's weakness for alcohol is just the first lever he pulls.
So Iago gets Cassio drunk, then he incites Roderigo, who's still hanging around, paying Iago, hoping to win Desdemona,
Still completely duped.
to provoke a brawl with the drunken Cassio, and of course it escalates. Cassio wounds Montano, a respected former governor.
Othello, disturbed by all the chaos, confronts them. And this is where Iago's honesty facade really starts to solidify in Othello's mind.
Totally unaware of Iago's plotting, Othello praises Iago's supposed honesty. He says, "I know, Iago, thy honesty and love doth mince this matter, making it light to Cassio."
The irony is just staggering. Othello's unwavering trust in honest Iago is one of the play's most devastating elements.
And Othello, in this moment of rigid military discipline, strips Cassio of his lieutenancy, declares, "Never more be officer of mine."
Swift, severe, and from Othello's perspective, completely justified based on what he thinks happened.
Cassio is absolutely crushed. He laments his lost reputation, calls it the immortal part of myself, says what's left is bestial.
It really highlights how incredibly important honor and reputation were, especially in that military context.
Yeah.
More valuable than life itself for someone like Cassio.
But Iago, ever the cynic, just dismisses reputation, calls it an idle and most false imposition, oft got without merit and lost without deserving.
He doesn't believe in its intrinsic value at all. He sees it as an empty word, a superficial construct. Tells you everything about his own amoral compass, doesn't it?
It's almost like he understood cancel culture before it existed. How easily reputations can be built and destroyed, sometimes with very little merit behind them.
He's the ultimate deconstructionist of human values, perhaps. And then, pretending to be helpful, Iago advises Cassio to seek Desdemona's help to get reinstated.
Which is a masterstroke of manipulation.
Absolutely. It serves multiple purposes. He knows Desdemona's kind nature, her compassion. He knows Othello loves her deeply.
So by having Cassio approach Desdemona,
he creates this plausible, perfectly innocent interaction that he can then twist into damning evidence of an affair. It sets the stage perfectly for the next, even more devastating phase of his plot.
where Desdemona's very kindness will be weaponized against her.
Precisely.
And that next phase pivots around an object, an innocent object that tragically becomes a deadly weapon. A handkerchief.
The handkerchief. Not just any handkerchief. It was Othello's first gift to Desdemona, holding immense sentimental value.
And Desdemona, being her compassionate self, earnestly pleads with Othello for Cassio's reinstatement, completely unaware that this simple act of kindness is exactly what Iago needs to fuel his lies.
The handkerchief, in Othello's eyes, holds this almost mystical significance. He tells Desdemona about its origins.
Given to his mother by an Egyptian charmer.
Sown in prophetic fury, dyed in mummy, conserved of maidens' hearts. This isn't just poetic language. It taps into a deep vein of Elizabethan belief in potent charms, folk magic.
So it's not just sentimental, it's practically a magical artifact,
Yeah.
a literal charm against infidelity.
Exactly. And its loss, he warns her, would be such prudition as nothing else could match. It's the symbolic anchor of their love and fidelity, steeped in superstition, family history, making its disappearance a profoundly bad omen for their relationship.
So when Desdemona accidentally drops this incredibly significant handkerchief, it's like a ticking time bomb that's just been activated.
And who finds it? Emilia, Iago's own wife.
Right. And Emilia reveals later that Iago had begged of me to steal Nep many times before, which just adds another layer to Iago's character.
Maybe she was trying to please her difficult husband. Maybe it was misguided obedience. Who knows? But she picks it up and gives it to him, completely unaware of his sinister, world-destroying intentions.
And this is where you see Iago's meticulous planning, his foresight, in full chilling view.
He takes the handkerchief and, with calculated precision, deliberately plants it in Cassio's lodging.
Cassio finds it, has no idea where it came from, and innocently asks his lover, Bianca, to copy its intricate embroidery because he likes the pattern.
This seemingly innocent action, this small domestic detail, a lover wanting a keepsake copied, gets grossly misconstrued. It becomes the tangible, damning proof that Othello, already primed for suspicion, will later latch onto.
Sealing Desdemona's fate, and his own.
It's a testament to Iago's insidious genius, isn't it? Turning the most mundane objects and actions into instruments of pure destruction.
Okay, so the groundwork is laid. The trap is set. Othello thinks he's secure, maybe even happy in Cyprus. But this is where Iago really starts to twist the knife.
Yeah, what unfolds next is just a masterclass in psychological manipulation. And frankly, it's deeply unsettling to witness. Iago begins his relentless psychological poisoning of Othello.
He doesn't present outright lies immediately, does he? It's more subtle.
Exactly. He twists appearances, half-truths. He uses these subtle insinuations, these misinterpreted conversations, to slowly convince Othello of Desdemona's infidelity. It's like this slow, toxic drip just infecting Othello's mind.
Making him question everything he thought he knew.
And what's truly terrifying is how brilliantly Iago exploits Othello's deep-seated insecurities.
Right. Despite his celebrated status, his nobility, he seems to harbor what we might call an inferiority complex.
Possibly stemming from his race, being an outsider in Venice, maybe his age compared to Desdemona, his past as a stranger. Iago preys on this.
Oh.
By subtly suggesting Cassio is more handsome, more Venetian than Othello, and even more cruelly suggesting that Desdemona's choice of Othello was nature erring from itself, or unnatural.
Implying her love for Amour was a mistake, something against the natural order.
Precisely. Tapping into the very racial prejudices Othello has likely faced his whole life. This makes Othello doubt Desdemona's genuine love, doubt his own worthiness. He starts questioning his very identity, his place in this world.
So Othello's unconscious factors, his insecurities, his status versus his self-doubt, they're being expertly manipulated.
He's already susceptible, and Iago just pushes those buttons with surgical precision, leading Othello to easily believe Desdemona's fake infidelity.
It's chilling how Iago's duplicity just underscores that theme of appearance versus reality. He meticulously maintains this perfect facade of honesty and loyalty while orchestrating this whole web of deceit, destroying everyone around him.
And to escalate things, to push Othello further, Iago then manufactures more concrete yet entirely false evidence?
A proof.
The proof. He invents this vivid story about Cassio talking in his sleep, crying out Desdemona's name, kissing Iago, mistaking him for Desdemona, supposedly making gestures of love.
Oh.
And then he reinforces the handkerchief as the ultimate proof, claiming Cassio used it openly to wipe his beard. This manufactured evidence is the final straw. It pushes Othello deeper into the abyss.
You know, at first, Othello really tries to cling to reason, doesn't he? He declares, almost like a mantra, "I'll see before I doubt. When I doubt, prove."
And on the proof, there is no more but this: away at once with love or jealousy. He wants concrete, visible evidence, not just Iago's vague, honest doubts. He's trying to hold on to his rational military mind.
But Iago's relentless psychological warfare is just too powerful, too insidious. It just erodes Othello's capacity for rational thought.
Replacing it with this consuming, irrational suspicion, we see Othello's mind really start to unravel during that particularly cruel, staged conversation.
Where Iago makes Othello hide and listen.
Yeah, he gets Cassio talking and laughing, but Cassio is actually talking about Bianca, his lover, who's been trying to copy the handkerchief.
But Othello, his mind already poisoned by Iago's lies, believes Cassio is mocking him, talking about Desdemona. He says, "Look how he laughs already."
This devastating misinterpretation, completely orchestrated by Iago, pushes Othello into this furious rage, and it culminates in an epileptic seizure.
A profound physical manifestation of his complete mental and emotional collapse. His clear spirit utterly puddled by jealousy, as Shakespeare puts it.
It's terrifying to witness the transformation. He was once described as a man whom passion could not shake, noble, respected, self-controlled.
But when Ludovico, a noble from Venice, arrives, he sees Othello strike Desdemona in public, in front of visiting dignitaries, rudely dismisses her.
And Ludovico is absolutely astonished. He asks, "Is this the noble Moor whom our full Senate call all in all sufficient?" He's shocked at the change.
It's a public disgrace for a man who prided himself on self-control, on honor, a stark betrayal of his former self.
And his mental state just deteriorates further. It becomes truly horrifying. He questions Emilia, Desdemona's loyal attendant, as if she's the madam of a brothel and Desdemona one of her prostitutes.
Asking if she's seen Desdemona's deeds, her supposed infidelity.
Then he denounces Desdemona as a whore to her face, calling her terrible names. It's truly heartbreaking, watching him betray the woman who loves him so purely, whose innocence he should instinctively protect.
And the final, most chilling suggestion comes from Iago, still feigning honesty.
He cruelly suggests the method of murder. Do it not with poison. Strangle her in her bed, even the bed she hath contaminated.
Yeah, Othello agrees. Chillingly finds the justice of it pleases. Very good.
The man who was once the epitome of honor, reason, military discipline, now embraces murder. Convinced by a villain he believes is honest, seeking this twisted, horrifying form of justice for a crime that never happened.
So Iago's plots, they all converge now on this single night of just unspeakable violence and tragic revelations.
Yeah, he starts by orchestrating an attack on Cassio by Roderigo in the dark streets of Cyprus.
Roderigo gets wounded, cries out.
And Iago, the Spartan dog, as he's later called, seizes the opportunity. He secretly stabs Roderigo to death, silences him permanently, prevents the truth about his manipulations from ever being revealed by his accomplice.
It just shows his utter ruthlessness. Willing to eliminate any loose ends, solidifies him as just pure unadulterated villainy.
Meanwhile, Othello approaches Desdemona's bedchamber, absolutely determined to execute what he now perceives as justice.
And his soliloquy, it is the cause, my soul. It reveals his twisted logic, doesn't it? His desperate need to rationalize this horrific act he's about to commit.
He sees the murder not as rage, but as a sacrifice, a necessary evil, supposedly, to prevent Desdemona from betraying more men.
Which is so dark, because even as he's saying this, he acknowledges her beauty, compares her skin to snow, monumental alabaster.
He struggles with his enduring love for her, feels he must pluck the rose, take her life, but knows he cannot give it vital growth again. He kisses her, even as he's planning to kill her, a heartbreaking clash of love and murderous intent.
The confrontation itself is just agonizing, protracted, filled with her desperate pleas.
Othello confronts her, charges her with infidelity, demands she confess, despite her earnest protest, "By heaven, I do not, and her desperate pleas to send for the man and ask him.
He coldly dismisses her, claims Cassio has confessed, and, tragically, says, honest Iago have ta'en order for it, meaning Iago has supposedly dealt with Cassio.
Desdemona's desperate pleas for half an hour, even one prayer, are just ignored. Othello, completely blinded by rage and delusion, smothers her in her bed.
A truly horrific act of misplaced vengeance, epitomizing the destruction wrought by jealousy and deceit.
And this is where Emilia, Iago's wife, becomes this undeniable beacon of truth and courage.
She enters, discovers the dying Desdemona,
who, with her last breath, manages to utter, "A guiltless death I die," and even, "Commend me to my kind lord."
Wow. A final profound act of devotion, trying to protect Othello, absolve him, even in her own death.
And Othello, still clinging to his delusion, openly admits to the murder, proudly states that Iago, whom he still believes is an honest man, and hates the slime that sticks on filthy beads, informed him.
But Emilia, hearing this, finally pieces together the horrifying truth about her own husband's villainy, and she just unleashes this torrent of defiance.
Despite Iago's frantic threats, "Be wise and get you home," she refuses to be silenced, proclaims, "I will not charm my tongue, I am bound to speak." Her moral outrage just overrides any fear.
And she doesn't just speak, she vehemently defends Desdemona, calls Othello a dull Moor, a devil, for believing such monstrous lies.
And then, in that powerful, crucial, devastating moment, Emilia reveals the truth about the handkerchief.
I found by fortune, and did give my husband, for often, with a solemn earnestness, he begged of me to steal't.
This is it, the definitive proof. The final, undeniable piece of the puzzle that directly implicates Iago and shatters his carefully constructed facade of honesty for everyone there.
Exposed, facing utter ruin, Iago draws his sword and brutally murders his own wife Emilia, a desperate last-ditch attempt to silence her forever.
A horrifying act of pure evil, even for him. But Emilia, even as she dies, shows remarkable strength, affirms Desdemona's purity, her own honest thoughts, ensures the truth will out, even at the cost of her own life.
The web finally unravels completely when Roderigo's letters are discovered. They definitively expose Iago's entire plot, including how he manipulated Roderigo into attacking Cassio.
Faced with overwhelming, undeniable proof of Desdemona's innocence and Iago's unspeakable treachery, Othello is just consumed by agonizing remorse. He tries to attack Iago but is disarmed. His former strength, his purpose, utterly spent, replaced by crushing despair.
In his final, agonizing moments, recognizing his enormous error, Othello, the once noble general, uses a hidden Spanish sword to take his own life.
He falls upon the bed beside Desdemona and Emilia, declaring, "I kissed thee ere I killed thee, no way but this, killing myself to die upon a kiss."
A desperate, profoundly tragic end for a man who lost everything, his love, his reason, his honor, all due to unfounded belief and insidious manipulation.
And Iago, the Spartan dog. He's taken away to be tortured for his unspeakable crimes. But he offers no further explanation, chooses chilling silence, leaving his complex motivations for us, the audience, to forever contemplate.
Even centuries later, Othello continues to grip us. It feels profoundly modern, because its themes are just so deeply rooted in universal human experience.
They really are. Let's revisit some of these corrosive themes that Shakespeare explores with such raw intensity. First and foremost, jealousy.
Oh, definitely. The green-eyed monster.
Exactly. This play shows us, with terrifying clarity, how jealousy isn't just an emotion, it's a destructive force, like an acid eating away at everything. It transforms Othello's deep love into this terrifying, murderous obsession.
His journey highlights how this passion can puddle his clear spirit, right? Turning a clear, rational mind into a murky, irrational one.
It's a stark warning about how easily that green-eyed monster can twist our perceptions, make us see demons where there are only angels.
Absolutely. And then there's the chilling power of deception, that theme of appearance versus reality.
Iago embodies this, not just as a liar, but as a master illusionist. His ability to maintain that facade of honesty while orchestrating this web of deceit is horrifyingly effective.
And the irony is just dripping off the page, isn't it? The word honest applied to Iago over 40 times in the play.
He literally tells you, I am not what I am. Yet everyone, from Othello to, let's be honest, the audience initially, falls for his act.
His success serves as this stark warning about judging people solely by their outward appearance, especially when they tell you exactly what you want to hear.
Which leads directly to trust and betrayal. Othello is such a profound exploration of how fragile trust truly is, and how catastrophic its breaking can be.
Othello's unwavering, almost blind faith in Iago, the honest ensign.
And his subsequent betrayal of Desdemona. It tragically demonstrates the destructive power of unfounded belief and misplaced trust.
It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions, doesn't it? Who do you choose to believe, and why? How much do you question the word of someone you trust implicitly, even when their claims defy logic and evidence?
Which raises that important question. Why was Othello, this celebrated general, so susceptible to Iago's manipulations in the first place? The play exposes the insidious nature of racial prejudice in Elizabethan society, and its unavoidable and destructive effects. Iago deliberately weaponizes Othello's identity as Moor. He exploits Othello's inferiority complex.
By suggesting Desdemona's choice was unnatural, he taps into Othello's latent insecurities about his race, his position as an outsider, drives him to madness.
And that theme remains powerfully relevant today, doesn't it? In discussions about the impact of societal prejudice, bias, discrimination.
Absolutely. It's all about manipulation and vulnerability, isn't it? Iago's chilling success lies in his keen understanding of human weaknesses.
He exploits Othello's insecurities, sure, but also Cassio's weakness for drink, Roderigo's desperate love and gullibility.
He showcases the dangerous power of manipulative language, how easily individuals can be swayed by insinuation, half-truths, misinformation, even when it goes against all logic.
It's a stark reminder of how our own blind spots, our own desires, can be used against us.
And we can't overlook the play's exploration of gender roles and agency either.
No, definitely not. Desdemona's defiance of patriarchal norms by choosing Othello highlights the vulnerable position of women back then. Marrying without her father's consent was a radical act, cutting her off from traditional protection.
But then you have Emilia, who provides a much more outspoken, critical view of gender inequalities.
Her assertion that women have sense like them, that they have desires for sport and frailty as men have, it's a powerful proto-feminist statement.
Offering insights into early feminist ideas and enduring discussions about gender inequality even today.
Her defiance, her tragic sacrifice provides such a stark contrast to Desdemona's more passive, though equally brave, resistance in its own way.
So beyond its specific historical setting, beyond the dramatic plot, Othello really invites us to contemplate human nature and the capacity for evil.
It asks us to consider the dangers of suspicion, the insidious nature of slander, the fragility of reputation in our own lives.
You know, in our modern world, where misinformation spreads like wildfire online, where reputations can be destroyed with a single tweet or online rumor, this play feels more relevant than ever.
It really does. It's a testament to Shakespeare's genius that he captured these universal human vulnerabilities centuries ago.
The play underscores that timeless challenge of discerning truth amidst a deluge of information, manipulated narratives, highlighting the critical importance of critical thinking in our relationships, in society.
And it reminds us how easily our unconscious factors, our own insecurities, can be exploited, leading to irrational behavior, devastating consequences. It's a mirror, reflecting the shadows within us and the societal pressures around us.
Othello ultimately reminds us that sometimes the greatest dangers don't come from external threats, but from within, fueled by the whispers of those we trust.
Ultimately, Othello is this profound warning about the destructive spiral of jealousy, fueled by expert manipulation and internal insecurities.
It reminds us of the critical importance of trust, the devastating impact of its betrayal, and the profound tragedy that can arrive when we allow external malice and internal demons to define our reality.
And maybe here's a final provocative thought for you to chew on. Iago's motivations, as we've said, remain complex, multifaceted. Jealousy, racism, ambition, sheer malice. It's all potentially in there. Yet he offers no final explanation for his actions.
Right, when he's taken away to be tortured, he chooses silence.
Exactly. So what does this final, chilling silence tell us about the nature of true evil? And why might Shakespeare have chosen not to give his villain a clear, singular motive or a final monologue of self-justification? Something to think about.